The latest chapter of Real Madrid's war with La Liga officials features Carlo Ancelotti taking a dig at La Liga referees. Speaking ahead of tomorrow's Champions League clash with Manchester City, Ancelotti made it very clear he prefers Champions League referees to La Liga ones. Ancelotti said, quote, "I think there's less controversy and fewer VAR interventions. The VAR only intervenes when it's necessary. In the Champions League, the best referees in each country officiate, so the quality is very high." Nico, what's your thought on what Ancelotti has said?
Yeah, I
agree with him?
Wrong.
No, I think he's correct. I think there's less of a gray area, and it is less controversial. Simply put, when you're coming from a league where every game there's doubt, the refereeing standard is so poor that the referees themselves set the low threshold for the penalty kicks and the stamps and the red cards. That's set by the referee committee in Spain. There's a different standard in the Champions League. That's known. And obviously that allows there to be less controversy. And there's less of a narrative that you need to push. So, yeah, overall, even you know what? I'll tell you this. Even the Spanish referees are different in the Champions League. If you go back to the Bayern against Celtic in the first leg, Upamecano gets to the ball first inside of the penalty kick and stamps on a defender, and the ball goes out of bounds. The referee, I'm pretty sure it was Carlo Grande, I forget who it was, or I don't remember. Whatever, whoever it was, he was from Spain. He didn't call anything. VAR summoned him to the monitor. And you're saying, oh boy, here we go again. When days before in Spain, given the standard in Spain, the referee committee says that if you stamp on a player when you're contesting the ball, as a defensive player, it's a penalty kick. If you're contesting the ball. And here you had a very similar situation, and he went to the monitor. Usually when they go to the monitor, they give the penalty kick. He said no. He saw it in real time. Upamecano got the ball. It's a football play. How many times do you touch a defender's boot? Right?
All the time.
He got to all the freaking time. It's common sense. And this time, for some reason, the Spanish referee in UCL used common sense. It was a clean tackle. That is like the prime
Common
example
sense.
of how it's
sounds very refreshing.
But you see it from the players. You see it from Real Madrid players too. They feel more confident knowing that they feel like there's going to be a fair chance that they have in Champions League when they play, especially with Vinicius Jr. I think he's the best example of that. The confidence that he's able to display on the pitch, and not as many times as he's barking back and forth with the officials. In Champions League, it's night and day between what they experience at La Liga.
Guillem, now that we have you and before we let you go, I'm interested to hear your opinion on the state of Spanish refereeing, because we saw the Jude Bellingham red card. We saw a couple of controversial calls in the Barcelona against Rayo Vallecano game, and it seems like all of this just helps embolden the narrative that Real Madrid wants, that the refereeing is against them. What do you think?
That the standards of referee is not very high, but more importantly, it's the weakest it's ever been. We're all attacking the referees. Clubs are attacking referees, fans are attacking referees, media are attacking referees. So what has happened, of course, is to defend themselves, two things have happened. They've been protecting themselves, and there's so much bullying and pressure, by taking decisions that perhaps please people, more people than not, that perhaps they're not risking decisions that will get people upset. This is obviously not a good example. Mbappe should, Romero should have been sent off. But a lot of the decisions, they've been left to VAR. They just don't want the responsibility of taking them. Linesmen leave the flags down. So there is no leadership that says, no, actually, this is how we're going to act from now on. You do your job. If there is pressure, we'll take it. There's not that kind of leadership. So at the moment, it's not a collective. There are individual people with a family, with the problems, feeling that pressure, with the fear of losing what they've got, which is a great wage of $300,000 a year. All that goes ahead of sometimes the best decisions, consciously or unconsciously. They need to be protected by everyone, and the talk of even going on strike has been mentioned almost as a possibility of saying, well, can we stop now? And everybody realized that referees have to be protected. Otherwise, we're getting what we're getting. The standard's low, and really the weakest that the referees have ever been.
And you've seen, obviously, Real Madrid, the complaint that they filed, but you're seeing other clubs starting to follow suit with them. Alaves, Real Sociedad has been out complaining about the officiating as well. And there was reports coming out today as well about the officials feeling like they're on an island, they're alone, and could potentially lead to a protest. Who knows? Where does that go from this point in the gray cloud that it's hovering over this really incredible La Liga race when everyone's talking about the officiating?
Well, imagine if you don't protest, you may not get anything. Imagine if you protest, you may not get anything either. But if you protest, you may get something. So you've got to do that job of protesting because that's the climate that we're living at the moment. And it's not great. I don't think, there's going to be 1 point separating these sides or maybe 2 at the end of the season, the top 3 sides. That is if Athletic Club don't get involved as well. And then there'll be 4 sides fighting for the titles. Every decision matters and the pressure matters. Deep down, what's happening here is that Real Madrid in particular want the referees to be taken away from the control of the federation and be given independence. That would be a good thing. The fear is that Real Madrid wants to control that independence. That wouldn't be a good thing. But we're in the process of something changing. Officiating has to improve. They have to feel protected. And if they do, they will take better decisions. Meanwhile, there is a doubt. And when there is a doubt, then everybody loses.
Guillem, let's stay on the topic of the future of Real Madrid in this potential scenario that they don't win, right, tomorrow, and they're ultimately eliminated. And Ancelotti's future. What is it about the standard of Real Madrid that says that you can fire perhaps the greatest coach in European football at the moment in Carlo Ancelotti because you didn't win the Champions League, a tournament that you won the season before with the same manager?
But isn't that the success of Real Madrid or the secret of Real Madrid? That nobody's ahead of the club, of the targets of the club, of the standards of the club. And look, they leave and they obviously are really upset when they leave, like Ancelotti was. And then they get called again and it's like, yeah, I'll come over again. It is like that. This is in Real Madrid, we've got somebody or a club that is completely special. Outliers. They do their own rules. They just different to everybody else. And certainly the climax of a career. Ancelotti has said it, even though there were rumors, and we discussed this, that perhaps he's thought of leaving at the end of the season. He said it almost in every press conference. I will leave when they don't want me anymore. Because this is, after all, Real Madrid. Yes, Ancelotti has sorted out a lot of problems in the past, has managed to beat a lot of hurdles, has reinvented players and the positions from Camavinga to Tchouaméni to Valverde, who will be right back in the game against Manchester City. Thank you very much, Carlo. You've done all that, but it'll be a point where we won't need you anymore. And the hope is, of course, that at least this season they can go as far as fighting for titles, and they feel themselves that they got the chance for both titles. But to do that, they've got to get the results tomorrow.
Talk to me. What are your thoughts heading into this game? Because as Juanito once said, 90 minutes in the Bernabeu son molto longo.
Yes, it is like that, isn't it? Especially in Europe. You are talking about a side that's stable and another side that's not stable. That's all you have to say, which means that we don't know what's going to happen. You know that Real Madrid obviously are ahead. You know that they know how to get wins in games like these. You know that the front four will play and they are on a good form. And let's see, possibly Rudiger will come back as well, which makes the team a bit more solid at the back, although Santi has been great. Let's see if he plays or Tchouaméni. But generally, you know what you get from Real Madrid right now. In the case of Manchester City, it's a coin in the air. Is it going to be the Manchester City we saw against Real Madrid or the one that we saw against Newcastle? A 4-0 victory that people would say you can create the foundations based on that. A solid team that, of course, with Omar Mamouche scoring a hat-trick, you've got somebody, again, confident and who knows he's going to be important for Manchester City, but you just don't know. One thing is certain. I don't think Pep Guardiola thinks they've got only 1% chance of going through. But what's going to happen, I feel, and it always happens in these fixtures between these two teams, is that there is a moment where we all think, it's the ones who are not supposed to do it going to do it because they're that close and because they've got so much quality throughout the squad.
And you talked about the confidence of these two teams in terms of figuring that out. We also want to figure out the pressure that both of these teams are dealing with going into this fixture tomorrow. If you could rank the pressure that both sides are facing on a ranking of 1 to 10. Where's Real Madrid at and where's Manchester City at?
Well, if you're talking about the pressure that they feel, the secret and mystery, if you like, of Real Madrid is that they just don't feel any pressure. When they were talking about the possibility of getting Bayern Munich or Manchester City into this round of the Champions League, about 6 players of Real Madrid were asked after the last Champions League game, and they just went like, I don't care either. We're just going to beat them anyway. So they feel zero pressure. But what's certain is that if Real Madrid, after what I've done in the first leg, they get knocked out, then the narrative is going to change completely. This is not going to be, well, Real Madrid, now that they are through, can win the Champions League. It will be the future of Ancelotti. But it's very difficult to see that happening. On the other hand, Manchester City have decided that what's happening this season is just being top 4. That's the target, the only target. Could even be top 5, really, because it looks like the top 5 teams in the Premier League are going to qualify for the Champions League. That's the only target. And preparing the future. That's what Pep Guardiola has told everyone, that if actually they manage to get into the top 4 this season, it should be celebrated as the 5th Premier League win in a row, because he has felt that it's been such a difficult year that getting that target, which is the target, the only target, will be a success.